Okay, let's get into one of the biggest stories in modern culture, the birth of rock and roll. Because it wasn't just, a new kind of music, it completely changed everything. We're talking fashion, technology, even the way companies sell you things today. It all comes back to rock.
It really does. And I think the most surprising thing is that rock didn't just reflect youth culture. It basically invented it.
What do you mean by that?
Well, before the 1950s, there wasn't really a concept of a teenager as a separate group.
Mm.
Young people were just seen as small adults. They dressed like their parents. They listened to the same boring music. There was no gap.
And rock and roll created that gap.
Exactly. It was the first thing that was truly just for them.
So this all kicks off in the U.S. in the early 50s,
Mm.
and the sound itself was this completely new mix.
A total blend. You had African-American rhythm and blues R&B, which gave it that powerful beat.
And you mix that with what? Country music?
Yep, country and even some of that emotional soaring sound from gospel music.
Wow.
And for teenagers, it was just immediate. The volume, the energy, this heavy beat, it was the total opposite of the slow, quiet songs their parents liked.
But wait, mixing R&B and country back then? That must have been a really big deal socially.
Oh, it was hugely controversial. And honestly, that was part of the appeal for kids looking to rebel. Radio was heavily segregated, but then you get artists like Elvis Presley who could take that sound.
And bring it to a massive mainstream white audience.
Right. And he was borrowing so much from the incredible black artists who built the foundation of that sound.
And as soon as they have their own music, they start wanting their own everything else.
That's where the economic power comes in. It's not just about records anymore. They start dressing differently.
Out with the formal clothes, in with the blue jeans and leather jackets.
And for the first time, teenagers become this powerful economic force. They have their own money from allowances or part-time jobs.
So they can buy their own records, movie tickets, clothes.
And companies notice. They start making and advertising things specifically for people between 13 and 19. That whole idea of a youth market really starts here.
Okay, so if the beat is the heart of rock and roll, then the electric guitar has to be its voice.
Absolutely. The sound of rock is the sound of the electric guitar. It's that central.
And the key was figuring out how to make it loud, right?
Yes, and that was a real technical problem at first. Early electric guitars were hollow, like an acoustic guitar. If you tried to turn up the volume, the whole thing would just start howling. You get this terrible sound called feedback.
Right. The sound waves are bouncing around inside the guitar.
Exactly. So people like Leo Fender and the designers at Gibson came up with this solid body electric guitar.
No empty space inside.
No empty space, just a solid block of wood. And that meant you could crank up the volume through an amplifier and it wouldn't scream back at you. That volume was everything.
And those designs, the Fender Telecaster, the Gibson Les Paul, they're still the ones everyone uses today.
They got it right the first time. But the amplifier wasn't just for volume. It actually let you change the sound itself.
You mean creating that fuzzy, crunchy sound?
That's it, distortion.
Yeah.
Musicians figured out if you push the amp really hard, you got this rich, aggressive tone. That sound is maybe the single most important ingredient in rock music.
And it lets the guitar player become the star of the show.
Totally. You could play these loud, screaming solos. So most bands ended up with two guitarists,
Yeah.
a rhythm guitar holding down the chords.
And a lead guitar playing all the flashy solos.
What's so wild is how this very American invention goes over to the UK and then comes back even bigger.
The British invasion.
The British invasion, the mid-60s.
Yeah.
Bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones just exploded in the U.S.
And they loved American blues and rock, but they put their own spin on it.
A completely fresh take.
Yeah.
It proved that rock wasn't just an American thing anymore. It was global. And here's the really crucial part. They started writing their own songs.
Which wasn't that common before, right? A lot of singers just perform songs written by professionals.
Right. But the Beatles, the Stones, they wrote about their own lives, their own feelings. And that inspired a whole generation of kids around the world to pick up a guitar and do the same.
And everyone started copying their fashion, their hair. Modern pop culture was really taking shape.
So as the music gets bigger, the way people experience it has to get bigger too. It moves out of the bedroom and into these huge shared events.
You're talking about music festivals.
Music festivals. And the big one, the one everyone thinks of, is Woodstock in 1969.
This was on a farm in New York, right? For 3 days.
3 days, tens of thousands of people show up with tents, sleeping bags.
Yeah.
It was like a temporary city built around music.
Imagine the technical challenge. How do you even make sure people at the back can hear?
They had to build these massive state-of-the-art sound systems bigger than anything that had come before.
Yeah.
It pushed technology forward.
And it became more than just music. It was about peace and this, communal way of living.
It turned rock into a social movement.
Okay, so we get into the 1970s, and it seems like rock starts splitting into these two completely opposite directions.
It really does. On one side, you get hard rock,
Yeah.
bigger, louder, more complex.
This is when you start seeing bands with literal walls of amplifiers on stage.
Walls and Marshall amps, yeah. The idea was to create a sound that was so powerful you could feel it in your bones.
And the shows became like theater productions.
Totally theatrical. Pyrotechnics, huge stage sets, long, complicated songs. The lyrics were often about fantasy or mythology, not just love and cars. It was an escape,
But all of that complexity and expense created a backlash.
a massive one. And that was punk rock. It came along in the late 70s as a direct reaction to all that bigness.
It was all about a do-it-yourself attitude.
Completely. The core idea of punk was that anyone could be in a band. You didn't have to be a technical genius who could play a 10-minute guitar solo.
So the music was much simpler.
Super simple. The songs were really short, really fast, and often just used 3 basic chords. It was all about raw energy.
And the fashion was DIY too. Ripped clothes, safety pins.
Exactly. It was a rejection of mainstream fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And the music belonged in small, sweaty clubs, not giant stadiums. It was immediate and real.
And the message was often political, right? Speaking out against the establishment.
Very much so. It gave a voice to kids who felt angry or frustrated with the way things were.
So we go from raw energy to stadium spectacle, then back to raw energy. But then the 1980s adds a whole new layer, the visual.
Music television. It changed everything overnight.
Suddenly, it's not enough to have a great song.
Nope. You needed a great video to go with it, a short film.
So the image of the band, the clothes, the special effects, the hair becomes just as important as the sound.
Maybe even more important in some cases.
Huh?
And these videos were expensive.
I bet.
Record labels started pouring millions into making them. It turned rock into this glossy global entertainment product. Flash was often more important than substance.
And just like with hard rock, that slick, expensive 80s style eventually led to another reaction.
The final big backlash of the century, really. Grunge. In the early 90s.
Coming out of Seattle.
Right. And it was basically a fusion. It took the heavy sound of metal, but mixed it with the raw, I don't care attitude of punk.
It was a total rejection of that polished 80s look.
Absolutely. The bands wore flannel shirts and ripped jeans because, well, that's just what they wore. It was about being authentic, not putting on a show.
And the lyrics got really serious again, talking about real problems, real emotions.
Grunge brought what was called alternative rock right into the mainstream. It proved there was still a huge audience for music that was honest and raw after a decade of style over substance.
Which brings us to today. And now technology has completely changed the game again. It's all digital.
It's all files on our phones and computers. And that has 2 massive effects. First is access.
You can listen to basically any song ever recorded instantly.
From anywhere in the world. And second is creation. You don't need $1 million studio anymore. A lot of artists are making amazing records at home on a laptop.
Plus, social media lets them connect directly with their fans. No more corporate gatekeepers.
It's a total shift in power.
But in the middle of all this digital convenience, there's this really interesting comeback story.
The vinyl revival.
Yeah. Why are young people who grew up with MP3s suddenly buying vinyl records?
Well, part of it is the sound. A lot of people feel that vinyl just sounds warmer, more real than a compressed digital file.
It's also about having something physical.
Right?
Yeah.
You get the big artwork, you get the lyrics you can hold in your hand. It's an experience, not just a file.
And record stores are becoming cool again.
They're social hubs. Places where you can go and talk to people who love the same things you do. It connects you back to that history.
So when you look back at this whole story, what's the lasting legacy of rock and roll?
I think it survives because it's never just one thing. It's always changing to reflect what young people are feeling. Its core message is always about freedom, about finding your identity, about belonging to something. That never gets old.
It really did break down so many barriers, and it influenced every type of music that came after it.
Everything, from pop to hip-hop.
But at the end of the day, that basic thrill of a loud guitar and a really solid beat, that's timeless. That's the heart of it all. Keep exploring the music that matters to you. See you next time.